Hello and welcome to Creating Kathy. Today I want to share with you my journey to my best milestone and or achievement. I was really unhappy with the office jobs that I was working in. So I decided to join the Air Force and they put me right back in an office job, which I did not like, and I hope my attitude wasn't showing. All I did was fill out forms and all offices were the same type of people, the backstabbing, the bureaucracy. I had to get out. So the solution was back in boot camp. I remember Staff Sergeant Robbins and Staff Sergeant Parker. They were the best. And me, I was shy, backward, naive, and little me volunteered to be a training instructor in boot camp. So the Air Force transferred me back 3 miles down the road to Lackland Air Force Base, and I moved into the barracks for staff personnel. I sat in the back of the room observing other instructors teaching academic classes with all male recruits. And I had to get up and do that. I had to swallow my shyness and fear in a hurry. And it happened when an instructor got sick. I had to get up and teach a security class. Well, I knew all about the security forces and could share my experiences. With my lesson plan in front of me, I clutched the lectern tightly and taught the class. From the back of the class, my supervisor watched, which made me even more nervous. But after it was over, he said I did well. I followed everything perfectly. I told him what I was going to tell him, then I told him what I told him, which comes out to introduction, body, and conclusion. It was in 1975 when I started a life that was natural for me as a teacher in the Air Force boot camp. I taught all the academic classes: military law, Air Force history, uniforms, first aid, venereal diseases. We showed a film that was a cartoon from Walt Disney, and it had little red and green germs running around. Financial management was another one: drug and alcohol abuse, rape, birth control, breast and uterine cancer, hair and skin care, human relations, security. And I got tired of the barracks life, so I got an apartment a few miles from the base. It had a swimming pool, and I got Jaime, my gerbil, and some fish for pets. Also, I enjoyed the parks in San Antonio and other places in Texas Hill Country. It felt so right to be able to reach an audience, and believe me, they were a tough audience. They came into the classroom exhausted, angry, sad, and disgusted. As I progressed, so did my skills, and I found out that I loved it and I was a natural. For me, there's no greater feeling or high than being able to click with an audience, to look out at their faces and connect with them, to see their reactions, their smiles, surprise, delight, and aha moments. I became a subject matter specialist. The added responsibility included researching specific subjects to make sure that all the information was current and accurate. My subjects were Air Force history and first aid. I really enjoyed teaching. My supervisor saw my natural talent, but still sent me to training school. And in 2 years, I became a master training instructor and became a staff sergeant. And this led me to training new instructions into the program. Tech Sergeant Robbins, my old teacher from boot camp, came back into the program, and I had to train her. And then she became my supervisor, and she got promoted to Chief Master Chief Sergeant. My life felt so complete, and I was happy. I loved the podium, and my personal life stayed full. I was jogging, biking, swimming, writing, yoga, meditation. I just wanted my own little corner of the world, but still I was holding on to a Hollywood dream. I moved into a mobile home with a pond and ducks. I got myself a parakeet and then turned my second bathroom into a dark room. And Chief Robbins was my landlady, and we became friends. My fellow teachers were great, and we were a close-knit group, including a married couple, professional hypnotist, a pregnant lady. Her voice was so high-pitched and nasal. And yes, I really favored a couple ladies, Joan and Cindy. And then there was Bill. He said he was in love with me. and wanted to marry me, but he was already married and had 2 kids. So that, of course, was out. Somehow I knew I was different, like I didn't belong. I could get along without romantic relationships. I just wanted to be left alone to help people my way. I don't belong with people, I belong to them. My future was on stage, on radio, writing columns and movies, and don't get close. It was like I couldn't let myself into my heart. My heritage and destiny was something else, and I wasn't sure who I was. My life continued with great success. Anytime we had an inspection, they sent the generals into my classes. In my spare time, I didn't give up on my Hollywood dreams. I wrote scripts. It's the easy format, and kept pounding on Hollywood's door. Also, my spiritual life became alive, much deeper as I continued with my yoga. I love the outdoors, so I got out as much as I could, swimming, jogging, golfing, and walking. And then I got word that my mom had a stroke, so I went up to visit her. And she was as white as sheet when I came in. But she actually said that she was proud of me, and so would Dad, who would have been. I wanted her alive to repay her for all she had done for me. She grew strong and recovered, but still the strain was there. While pursuing my dreams in Hollywood, I kept busy with my spiritual growth, as I said. I bought myself a moped. I had fun until I kept running out of gas with it because it didn't have a gas gauge. So I was back into my job and that I loved, and 60 women were sat in the classroom waiting for my drug and alcohol abuse class to start. So I decided to demonstrate, and Chief Robbins sat in the back of my class, and I didn't realize it. And I pretended to be drunk, and my uniform was all messed up. I stumbled into the classroom and looked over at the exhausted female recruits. "Where's my airplane?" I got very dramatic and had some fun with them. "I'm supposed to be flying." "Webster," I peered at a student. "You take my plane?" She shook her head. And then I noticed Chief Robbins in the back snickering at me. And the students started to laugh too. "What's the matter with you people? I'm supposed to be flying my plane." "Where is it?" "You don't need a plane to fly, ma'am," a student laughed. I straightened up, staring right at the young lady in the front row. "I don't?" Then I looked over at Chief Robbins. "Hey, Chief Robbins, want to be my co-pilot?" Shaking her head, she covered her mouth, hiding her laugh. "Clark, what about you?" I staggered to a recruit. "Want to go flying with me?" She shook her head, making faces at me, and I burped. "Doesn't anyone want to go flying with me?" I looked around at everyone, and they all shook their heads. "Why not? I'm a qualified pilot in the United States Air Force." I threw up my arms and sobered up. "It doesn't look good, does it?" I pointed to a student at the end of the seat. "Let's say Erickson here is an SP, security police, and comes to work plow." "Don't give her a gun," another student remarked. "Precisely," I grinned. "What would she do with one?" "Lopez, here is a dentist working in your mouth, and she's been popping pills in her own mouth. Would you like that if Iverson over there, half asleep, was a pilot and came to work on PCP? Anyone want to go fly with her?" They all stared at me as I backed over to the lectern on the podium. "What if Keller there was a doctor and she was shooting up marijuana?" "You can't shoot up pot," Iverson added, wiping her eyes. "Checking to see if you're awake, Iverson. We all depend on each other to our jobs. We work very closely together as a team. You don't want to jeopardize that, the safety of others in our country." The 1970s was a very happy time. Mom came down to visit me, and I gave her a tour of South San Antonio through the missions. I even let her sit in my classes, and it was the breast and uterine class for women. On the chalkboard, I tried to draw a picture of a woman's arm and breast on the chalkboard, and the women would start snickering. "No wisecracks from the peanut gallery." I looked over my shoulder at the class and finished the drawing, then turned to the class. "Stage 1 occurs in the breast, then it was spread to the lymph nodes under the arm. Stage 3, in the muscles in the cavity chest. When do you self-breast examination?" A lump isn't the only thing to look for. A recruit raised her hand. Yes, I turned to her. Ma'am, I'm always finding lumps. And I saw the large recruit with large breasts. Yes, I see. I cleared my voice, looking down at my own breasts. Can I borrow some? The entire class of women in green fatigues burst out laughing. Then a student sitting next to her looked at her. What size bra do you wear? E-cup, she said. And covering my snickering, I noticed Mom laughing too. It can be a problem with large breasts. That's why you should do your monthly exam, so you can spot when something is out of the ordinary. Other symptoms include discoloration of the skin. Then a young male recruit stuck his head in the side door near me. He looked around. I kept talking, and the discharge from the nipple, inverted nipple. I turned to him. Airman, what do you want? Thin and worried. He looked at me and straightened up. Sir, I'm looking for someone. Come here. I ordered him to come in, calmly. He was shaking nervously and marched up to me. Who are you looking for? And stiffly he stood at attention. Sir, Airman Reston is supposed to report to the orderly room now, sir. My hands were on my hips looking down at him. Do I look like a sir to you? Do you want my glasses? No, sir. Ma'am. He's scared. He started gulping. I tried hard to hide my giggle. You're dismissed, Airman Reston. Report to the orderly room. A few years ago, an instructor taught the class to women, and it was the bicentennial. And I was teaching the birth control class. He explained that they come in different colors, polka dots, stripes, red, blue, and white. And a young lady raised her hand and asked, what happens when the national anthem is played? And the instructor turned 10 shades of red as I was training him. It was in the August of 1979, and I remember being in the office at my desk reading some bad news. Then Bill came in. He made me feel uncomfortable because I knew how he felt. He did divorce his wife, and he went into the storage closet and got a film for his class. Turning towards me, he came forward when Chief Robbins came in, and Bill walked out quickly. With 7 stripes on her sleeve, she made Senior Master Sergeant. She called me over to her desk around a partition. I have some critiques for you. Uh-oh. Now what did I do? I tried to joke in my bad mood. Tall and lanky, she sat back in her chair and looked at me. Good job. You didn't make master instructor for nothing, Kathy. Yeah, sure. My mood turned somber. Now they don't want to let me go. My hand had the forms I had submitted for cross-training into another field, and I squeezed them tightly. Did they say why? She looked at my hand with the papers, so I gave them to her. Lack of female training instructors. She read it. Just because I'm a female? They don't want to cross-train me? That's not fair. That's discrimination, I snapped. Her brown eyes stared at me. Do you want to fight it? Sighing, I sat back and rubbed my eyes. I just don't know. I shook my head. Just want to get out. She rubbed her chin, studying me. You're a good instructor, Kathy. They know that. You're one of our best. I gotta screw up to get out of here? Is that it? Sighing, I didn't know what to do. I'm tired, Brenda. So tired. Burned out. 4.5 years of recruits. I need to get out. They won't let me retrain. My contract's up in February. It was October. I don't know. You're my supervisor, Brenda. Yep, I am. I learned a lot from you when I came back to the program, sitting in your classes. You tell me, I wanted her advice, but knew I had to make my own decision. I loved teaching, but needed a change. 4.5 years is a long time, and a lot of recruits. That usually doesn't happen. The tours are supposed to only be 2 years. You're telling me? I'd be happy if I never saw another recruit for as long as I live. I stood up slowly to walk away, and I felt her eyes on me. You have a background in health, nutrition, fitness, and vegetarianism. Maybe you can get a job teaching that. Now that clicked with me and it got me thinking. It was a habit, a part of my life, exercising every day and eating right. I felt fantastic and never got sick. And then I was in my last class. It was human relations with girls and guys, and they were fun. I messed with their heads. And from the back of the room, a student had asked a question. Wait a minute. I stepped back for the lectern and grabbed my glasses. I can't hear you. I put my glasses on. There, now I can hear you. What did you say? Some students snickered and others made faces at me. What? I looked at them. It works. We have a girl on our flight who hates everyone. She doesn't get along. She's always alone. Well, she'll have to learn, or she won't make it in the Air Force. You've told me the problems in your flights. Sure, they play with your minds. It's only a game here, but out there, the real Air Force, it's not a game. It's the real thing. If you can't pay attention to detail here, you won't out there. A lot of lives are at stake. This is a transition to see who can make it. If you can't settle your differences here, you won't in the real world. Now, are you going to get your job done? I noticed their somber faces and knew they were just digesting what I'd said. Okay, I rubbed my chin, decided to change the subject. I pointed to a student. She's got blonde hair and blue eyes. She's dumb. Then I looked back at the black lady. All blacks have rhythm. You bet, a student replied, nodding. All blacks like watermelon. Well, she sneered. All Jews are tight. All Indians are lazy. All men think they're on their road. Yeah, all female students yelled. Jumping back, I pretended to be surprised and smiled. All the women in the military are whores looking for husbands. Or gay. All military are second-class citizens. They stared at me. It's true. Many people look down on us. A young lady nodded. All men think women should be home barefoot and pregnant. Yeah, a male recruit stared at women next to him. What? Another young man remarked. Guess. Yes, I'm not the only bigot here. Stereotyping. Talk to each other. Communicate. The more you know about someone, the better you will understand them. We are all different with different values and ideas. Don't put anyone down because of that. I am guilty. I'm the only one with problems. I'm not. We are not. Reach out to each other. I backed up to the front of the class. Ladies and gentlemen, you won't see me again. I am leaving the Air Force, and this is my last class. Their smiles turned somber as they looked at me. A student, what? A student blurted out. I'm getting out of the Air Force. 5 years of you guys is enough. It's time to leave. The best of luck to you all. Turning to the lectern, I fought my tears because I love teaching and the lives are touched. You're free to go. I started to erase some writing on the chalkboard. We'll miss you, a student said. Everyone started to applaud. We think you're the best. I heard an affirmative comments and turned to them. The applause got louder as they stood up for me. I couldn't stop my tears coming to my eyes. It was a great accomplishment. They started to file out in front of me. We'll never forget you, a student looked straight at me. You're better than my college professor, another woman commented on as she passed me. Gotta get out of here. I was overwhelmed and so proud of each of them. Thank you, Sergeant Thompson. I'll remember you, a young man remarked. At 36 years old, I left the Air Force. I had no job, and it was February of 1980. I moved to North San Antonio and tried to figure out my next move. I started looking for a job, not an office one. And then I thought I found a perfect job. I got a job as a fitness consultant in a spa for women. Well, if you want to know more about what happened before and after the Air Force, grab your copy of Creating Kathy at the link below.